donuts, that they're massive and they're full of the most delicious cream and all these really bad things. And they're called Boombas, which means big bottom. What it's really saying is if you eat too many of these, you will get a big bottom. It's called natural justice. And that's really what's being talked about here. Justice is really natural justice. It's saying that if you can't maintain balance about how you approach these aspects of your life, you will suffer the consequences. Nobody's going to do it to you, it will become the natural consequence. And then they said there's something else that can get in the way, and it's time. Old man time. Back in the medieval period, particularly in the 1400s, Petrarch and a whole lot of the philosophers at the time would use the analogy of the passing of a day. So as a child, it is the morning. And as we approach the end of day, we're an old man or an old woman. And he's heading west. He's heading towards the end of day with his lantern. And basically they're saying aging and death will win out. Doesn't matter how much scarcity you buy into or how much accumulation you have, it will mean diddly squat with the passing of time. And then the third one, to complete the trio, chance. The wheel of fortune will turn. You've got it 1 minute, global financial crisis, and it's gone the next. You've got it 1 minute, global epidemic, and it's gone away the next. You're not in control of that. Things outside of you are controlling that. Well, maybe. I've got a whole different theory on that, but that's another day. But the wheel of fortune turns and can take it away from you in an instant. And in fact, they do. There's a point where these things are such that they are built into any time we buy into anything of the illusion. They go hand in hand with it. The minute you leave the world of illusion, justice, time and chance, no longer important. But while you're in it, they'll have a big impact on what goes on. So we're on a journey, we're born, we go through life dealing with wealth, power, love and fame. We're dealing with the stressors brought about by justice, time and chance, and we come to a crossroad. And we go, what do I do? My world is falling apart. I've been divorced twice. Well, my money's gone. Nowhere to live. I'm sick. Lifestyle disease. Whatever it is that we're dealing with. And we come to this intersection. And we have to decide where we're going to go. We have 4 choices. I like this. We have 4 choices. In my book, I've got a picture of Hermes. Well, a Herm. And it's about a 6-foot penis, about this high, carved out of stone. And that used to be at a 4-ways, back in the very medieval periods, early medieval period. And they would have the names of the different villages on each corner, on each, sort of not on the corner because there's no corners on a penis, but they'd have them down the 4 sides, and they would be representative of Hermes, who was the magician. Hermes was also the magician. And so we're at a 4-ways. You can stand where you are and not go anywhere. What do you think that might look like in today's language? Not going forward, maybe going backwards slowly, but we're sort of in this status quo.
Comfortable?
No, not when you're suffering with justice, time and chance just having a go at you. Stagnating. And how we survive it? Antidepressants. Drugs. Alcohol. gambling, consumerism,
smartphones,
etc., etc., etc. And we try to numb the experience of our suffering. Drugs has become a huge way of doing that now. And prescribed drugs sits right on the back of that. Those of us that have got enough energy can come back down this route here. It's a type of reincarnation, it's called midlife crisis. Only we don't wait to midlife anymore. What's the midlife crisis? Dress smarter, younger, cheaper, you know, not cheaper, but a toy boy, a younger girlfriend, sports car, trendier suburb. In other words, we try to recreate the illusion. But what did I say about buying into the illusion? Justice, time and chance come along for the ride as well. They're in the back seat of the sports car. And instead of it taking you 30 years to get around there, it'll probably take you 5 years. And some people, is that what I've got? Some people, I better get speaking quickly. Some people try to do it again. This route is suicide. That's the death corner. And that's suicide. And this one is the dark night of the soul. Once again, and I'm going to have to speak a little bit more quickly, billboard number 2 is the strength card. And she said, you're going to need the courage of a refined woman that's holding open the mouth of a lion to be able to go down this route. This is how much courage is going to be required to go down this route. And you will need hope in the crowning glory of Christ, because here we see she has the zigzag crown on the top of her head, which is the crowning glory of Christ. It's not enough to have strength, you also need hope. Hope that the glory of Christ, the crowning glory of Christ, actually exists and that it's achievable. Otherwise, you will not survive going down this route. Okay, courage and hope. The hanged man. So he's hanging off branches that have all been pruned. Guess who they were pruned by? 3 branches, 3 lots of pruning, justice, time and chance. They've pruned everything away except you're hanging by one thing. They can't touch that, only you can. What do you think that one thing is?
hope.
No. Your story. Your narrative of a 7-year-old keeps you hanging on to the illusion. It's the one thing that hope, that justice, time and chance can't impact on. You have to do that yourself. And so what happens is, still attached to your story, you will be grieving the loss of these things because these were the things that helped keep your story alive, for good or for bad. And you will be grieving. And then the next card is, now these cards were associated with the Beatitudes. That's another whole thing again. First card, blessed are the poor in spirit. Doesn't get any more poor in spirit than that. Next one is, blessed are those that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Mourning is the process where we take grief and give it an external manifestation. In Italy, they hire professional mourners. Little old ladies in black dresses come along and 3 or 4 of them will sit there and they'll wail. They're paid to be a mourner. What they're doing is externalising the grief. Why is that important? You can't change what you can't see. And what's really interesting about this card is it's all about him looking. Yes, there's got this emphasis down here about finally being cut off from these things, but it's the power of observation that brings change. When something is authentically observed, it changes. It's a principle of quantum physics. In fact, if you want to understand the power of dynamic of manifestation, it's just observation. It's purely observation. And that's what's happening here, is we're in the place of externalizing the grief and being able to observe it. And in that place, we now empty the vessel, and with the scythe, we cut the narrative. And so now, morning, now we have Christ conceived. So here we see temperance pouring water into a jug that's been emptied. So we've been tipped upside down, everything's been emptied out, we've cut off all attachment to the illusion, the jug is now empty, and now temperance comes along and she starts to pour living waters into our vessel. She has a red 5-petaled rose on her head, not a white one. What's the difference? Does anyone know the symbolic difference between the two?
She's not a virgin.
The white one's the virgin.
And the red one isn't.
The red one is no longer a virgin. What this is saying is this is the conception of Christ consciousness in the fool. At this point, a new knowledge of love and a way of approaching life is being poured into the empty vessel. And now, and this is the Holy Spirit or the Spirit of wisdom that does this, now you're receiving new knowledge, divine knowledge, knowledge of love at this point. The third beatitude is blessed are the meek.